From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And Wally, as always, a lot to get into. Plenty of stuff piled up on our sports plate. But we have to start with the purple.
Yes.
The Minnesota Vikings, they just keep on rolling. They're 7-1. Their only blemish is a loss to the 8-0 Philadelphia Eagles. So that doesn't look like a bad loss right now. But the blueprint all year has been win close games, just squeaker victories, if you will, and they got another one against Washington.
Yeah, and I see in celebration you dressed like Marty McFly again today. Huh? You broke it out for us, attaboy.
Yeah, I went with a different look.
Yes, you certainly did. Is that a life jacket, Marty? I thought that they did a pretty good job considering their offensive line had all kinds of trouble with the Washington defensive line. I mean, man, Cousins got battered around by the Commanders. And he threw one or two interceptions. He threw one interception. But he was harassed, and he was sacked twice, harassed all day long.
He actually missed a play because of an injury.
Right, yeah.
Which is rare for the Iron Man, Kirk Cousins.
He never misses plays unless he has COVID.
That's the only thing that sacked him is COVID.
You are correct. But I thought, despite the fact that Washington's defense played so well and gave them so many problems, particularly giving the offensive line problems, for them to win the football game, like you said, they're 7-1. These are games. They lost 8 one-score games last season. They've won them all this year.
Well, and we're talking about a record amount of one-score games across the NFL. Right. For Minnesota to be able to be dominant in that stat, that might be the key statistic in 2022/23. You don't throw these wins back.
No.
I mean, you take it, you move on. And in this one, it was a little different. They were down 17-7.
Right.
It looked like Washington maybe was going to find a way to, turn the Vikings back into a pumpkin, right? But they came back. And Taylor Heineke, he sailed one over the middle. Harrison Smith with the big interception. He got some yak on the return. And the next thing you know, that narrative changed and they get a victory on the road.
And this is the other piece that I've been talking about over these last 4 games. Big defensive plays in the fourth quarter. And again, this time it's Harrison Smith. It was Patrick Peterson. It was Cam Dantzler. You just go right down the list. They had a bunch of big plays, make turnovers in particular in the fourth quarter. A lot of bending, but when it comes down to it, they've been able to come up with these big turnovers late in the game.
If you give up just 17 on the road, I'll take my chances. You're going to win most football games. And, there's been some buzz in the last few weeks. Get Dalvin Cook more touches. Well, he ran that wheel route out of the backfield, made a great one-hand OBJ-like grab on the throw from Kirk.
We had a Viking beat writer on our radio show last week. He said that he can't catch. I said, wait a minute.
Maybe he heard the show. And remember, there's been a lot of pressure, or at least people saying in the media, the fan base, hey, Kevin O'Connell, Wes Phillips, give Dalvin more touches. Get him in the passing game.
Absolutely.
I heard Sean Payton say on the Fox pregame, postgame stuff this past weekend, he says, coaches hear that stuff. Believe me, they hear it and they pay attention to it. Now, Sean never would have admitted that when he was coaching the Saints, but now he's in the media and he comes clean. And I thought to myself, I'm not so sure that Kevin O'Connell didn't hear it either. And you know what? Sometimes the media and the fan base can maybe tilt you in a direction that you should be going.
Well, at least thinking about it.
Yes.
Right? I mean, if you actually don't put it into motion, but you're thinking about it, well, then he thought about it and thought, hey, let's run that wheel route. Let's get him the football.
If you get Dalvin Cook one-on-one, if you isolate him, I'll take that matchup anytime in a game. I'll take that.
Yeah, he's not board hands like Adrian Peterson. He just isn't.
Well, no, especially on that play.
Yeah, well, you saw he could catch the football. Are you back on the Greg Joseph bandwagon? I mean, he hit clutch field goals, and he made those important extra points. Because I was thinking when it was 17-16 Minnesota after they had scored the Dalvin Cook touchdown, I thought, you better make this extra point, baby. And he did. Tied it up at 17.
And then he made a field goal to give them the lead, but then Washington got the penalty for the rough on the center as they tried to jump over and get the block, which was good news in the sense that you knew they could run the clock down to almost nothing.
But you took those 3 points off the board.
You still had to get the 3, and they were just playing for the 3.
Right.
They weren't even going for the touchdown, so he still had to go back in there and connect on the kick. Look, it's a tough position. He's done pretty good. You know, he got the game winner in Washington, but you're only as good as your last kick. We'll see what you do in Buffalo. It might be snowy and windy, and who knows? It could be a blizzard or might be 70 degrees and sunny. Who knows? Yeah. It's Buffalo.
Yeah, we don't know. What we do know is Buffalo is coming off of a loss to the Jets. Who are these New York Jets anyway?
I said to you a few weeks ago, they had a huge game against Miami, and they were able to win it, I think, when Tua was still on the bench with an injury. And by the way, Tua was fantastic in Chicago. He and Justin Fields put on a video game display. That was a lot of fun if you like points. But I think the Jets are for real. I really do. They beat Buffalo. That's the gold bar of the AFC East.
I think Justin Fields is coming around, too. Oh, by the way, he had the biggest rushing day for an NFL quarterback in NFL history. Yeah, it's pretty good.
The Chicago Bears, I think, even though they're losing and it looks like another throwaway season, I feel like they have got what they want in Justin now. They'll add the pieces, get that O-line even better. In fact, right now in the NFC North, I was thinking about this driving into the luxurious studios here where we record. In the NFC North right now, the best quarterback is Kirk Cousins. It's not Aaron Rodgers. He's throwing red zone interceptions against Detroit, folks. He doesn't look good. And it's got to be Cousins, and I think Justin Fields is slowly ticking above Aaron. And who knows, Jared Goff outplayed Aaron Rodgers in Detroit. He went to Cal. Rodgers went to Cal. Maybe Goff is the best former Cal quarterback in the NFL right now.
Well, we know one thing. The Packers are out of it.
Oh, boy.
Makes us all toast. Happy. We're all happy about that.
All right, well, hey, we got a lot more coming up. We're going to talk some hoops with Richard Coffey, who played with the Timberwolves and the Gophers. All that and more coming up. 10K Takes, your purple ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10,000 Takes continues along. We're going to talk some basketball now, and we're going to talk with Richard Coffey. He played with the Gophers, played with the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, and, of course, played with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And, Richard, welcome to the show. Let's start out talking about the Timberwolves. They make the big trade in the offseason for Rudy Gobert, and it has not panned out how they had hoped thus far. Give me some insight on how they're going to have to fix things and how Gobert is going to fit in with Karl Anthony Towns on the floor at the same time? Because they look like they're getting beat down the floor a lot on defense.
Yeah, and it takes a little time. Whenever you add a guy like at that caliber and at that level, it takes a little time to get everybody on the same page, and they have to get some games under their belt, and you hope that they'll be better in January than they are right now. But then, I think the coaching staff going to figure out too. I'm sure they're looking at, different lineups and different combinations of players that play together, and looking at different game situations and seeing if they can figure out, in this first month and a half of what's the best combinations with certain situations.
Richard, this was a blockbuster trade between the Jazz and the Timberwolves. Minnesota gave up a boatload to get Rudy Gobert. Is it fair to say that if this year, next year, or maybe the year after, the T-Wolves don't go on a deep run, this has been a disastrous deal because they have to get something out of it? He's the only guy they got in return.
Well, anytime you make a big trade like that where you do get rid of so many promising players to bring one big guy in, there's always a lot of pressure, right? And everybody's feeling that pressure. The GM's feeling the pressure because he made the deal. The coach is feeling the pressure because now he has to coach the new team. And the players are feeling the pressure because, of the expectations of bringing a guy like that to a team that has some success the year before. And now you bring a big superstar in, you get rid of a lot of players. So there's pressure on all levels.
One guy I think that went in that trade that I think has been really missed, and I don't know if folks have tuned into this quite yet, Jared Vanderbilt, the guy that gets those loose balls, the guy that basically he's out there just to get rebounds on the defensive end. He plays good defense too, don't get me wrong, but more like kind of like a Dennis Rodman type player that is constantly moving, tipping balls that are being, in the passing lanes, that type of thing. I think that they don't have that type of guy right now. Can they develop somebody? Can McDaniels be that guy?
And those guys are extremely important. I know everybody, likes to see or follows the guys that scores a lot of baskets. And, you see those guys on Sports Center and all of the sports clips, the guys that scores the 30 points or the 35 points a game. And when you hear stats, they're mostly talking about scoring. But to win, you need individuals that play different roles. And a big role for this team and for every team really is to have someone that can hustle, that's going to be committed to the team, that's going to put himself second, third, or even fourth when it comes to the scoring perspective and just go out there and do a certain job. And you mentioned Dennis Rodman, and you can even, you can question, would Chicago have won, all of those championships without a guy like Dennis Rodman?
The Twin Towers concept, popular back in the day, not so much now. It's a 3-ball driven NBA. So you have these skyscrapers in Rudy and Cat. If you were a general manager putting the building blocks together, would you go this route? Do you think the Twin Towers premise can win big in the NBA today?
Well, for the Timberwolves' sakes, I hope so. But I will say this, and you guys know, you guys been around, you follow the NBA, and you saw the game back when San Antonio had the big, Sampson and Robinson, and it was different, right? Back then, the game was a little slower. Big men, they were extremely prevalent and valuable. Today's NBA is a little quicker, and a lot of times it's positionless basketball. I look at some teams, and the tallest guy on the court at some particular moments is 6'8".
I want to ask you about the Gophers, but I will point out that Cleveland has a twin tower concept with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, and that seems to be working. And as a matter of fact, they ate the Timberwolves alive last year at Target Center. I remember being at that game and watching those two just, have the Timberwolves for breakfast that particular night. All right, Gopher basketball. Jamison Battle is going to be out for a while. He was obviously huge in the success that they did have a year ago. They've got only him and one other player, Thompson, this Trayton Thompson kid, back from last year. How difficult is it going to be for them to get through the Big Ten with all new players again?
It's going to be difficult. The Big Ten is, even when in years that the Big Ten is down, so to speak, it's still the Big Ten, and it's a very difficult conference. And you need to have chemistry, and you need to have a team that has played together, and you need to have players that have experienced the Big Ten, right? You can be a really good player from another conference. The Big Ten is a little different, and it takes some time to adjust to that. I remember when Amir, as a freshman, started out extremely well for the Gophers. And then the Big Ten started, and the first couple games in the Big Ten, I remember I remember having a phone call with him and him saying, "Man, the Big Ten is different," and it is. So it's going to take some time for those young guys to get used to the pace, the strength of the Big Ten. But by time they get used to it, the season might be halfway over, and then you're looking at another tough year. But I do believe in what Ben is doing over there, and I think he's doing a really good job. Fortunately for the Gophers, the new transfer rule has played in their favor, where you get a lot of new faces on campus to fill your roster. But on the other hand, it's going to take those young men some experience to get used to the Big Ten and to really feel the pace and get used to the strength and all of the players and how the Big Ten move and the motion of the Big Ten. It's just going to take some time. So, I tell people all the time, like, if you can finish in the top 5 in the Big Ten, maybe even the top 6, you had a pretty good year. I know we all are looking for championships. Those things are hard to come by in conferences like the Big Ten.
Yeah.
All right, so we know the Big Ten is a power conference. How much more difficult will it be when you add UCLA? I mean, that's John Wooden's UCLA, by the way, Kareem, Bill Walton, and USC, which is very good at basketball. I mean, this conference is going to be incredibly difficult.
It just got more difficult when you talked about those two programs. And from a fan perspective, it's fun to think about the matchups and the possibility and the strength of a conference. And me being a Big Ten guy, but then I'm also kind of a traditionalist as well. I like when it was 10 teams in the Big Ten.
How about that?
Right?
What a novel idea.
But it's a new day, and it's a new time, and it's the conference and teams are coming together to make these super conferences there's a lot of money to exchange hands and organizations, but it's going to be fun. But for a program like the Gopher program, it just makes it tougher to recruit, and it makes it tougher to be successful in a conference where you can win enough games to make it to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
because you're not going to have a break. You add teams like that, you're not going to have a break when the Big Ten starts, as far as an easy win, whether you're home or away.
Yeah, that's 2 less of those cupcake games that you get to play, at least, maybe more.
Tell me about it.
Yeah,
tell me about it.
Yeah.
And honestly, the last Big Ten championship, man, it's been a long time.
Oh boy,
it was,
and it's tough to win. Now, I think those players are going to play hard. I think they're going to give everything that they have. They have an amazing coaching staff. I love the structure. I love the direction that the team is going in. It's tough when you have to rely on players that have not experienced that level of basketball night in and night out.
Yeah. Well, Richard, we appreciate you spending some time with us, giving us some insight on both the Wolves and the Gophers, and rest assured we'll be tapping into you as the season progresses.
It's always a pleasure to join you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Richard.
He is Richard Coffey, former Gopher, former Timberwolf, right here on 10,000 Takes Your Hoops Ticket. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10,000 Takes rolls along, and I want to talk some more NFL before we move on. The celebrations that happen generally after defensive plays, those are the really goofy ones. You saw this past Sunday the Vikings celebration. Harrison Smith gets the interception, and then he does the bowling thing.
Yep.
Knocked over all his teammates.
Jordan Hicks wobbled, and then down goes the pin.
The last pin went down. Come on. That one was kind of clever, and I got a good laugh out of that one. But for the most part, I think they're ridiculous. They're just silly. What are they doing? What these premeditated celebrations are ridiculous. What I like is a celebration right after you score, the actual jubilation of making a big play. I'm all for that. But those premeditated things where they're doing, I don't know. Well, like you said, the bowling was kind of clever. I admit I laughed.
Well, it was unique. I'd never seen that. And I agree with what you're saying to a point, because the organic celebrations and, the ones that just happen naturally, those are the ones that are cool because you can tell they're not forced. They're not choreographed. My concern, even on the bowling pin thing, which was pretty funny.
It was funny. I admit it. I hate these things, but that one was kind of clever.
But how much time are they spending coming up with this? That alone takes some time to orchestrate and choreograph. So how much time are you spending on that as opposed to getting better on playing the game defensively, offensively, or in the special teams phase of football? That's my concern. So Harrison Smith and the Vikings defense, did you spend 20 minutes on that? Because you just didn't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no way that they did.
So is Kevin O'Connell saying, well, we're going to budget another 20 minutes for celebrations?
Don't these guys want to go home at the end of practice, or are they doing this instead of practice?
Apparently not.
Yeah, okay.
That might be the best one of the season, though.
That was pretty good. I have to admit.
The Vikings are rolling. They even know how to celebrate now.
Okay. Oh, boy. All right. Gopher football. They got a win in Nebraska. By the way, that Gopher win in Nebraska, do you realize they had gone 31 straight games where they were down by 10 points or more and did not come back and win? They broke a 31-game streak in that vein. I was stunned how they turned it around in the second half.
So just like the Vikings, they rally from 10 down and get a win on the road. Well, to do it in Lincoln, even though this is not a Nebraska juggernaut like we've seen in, previous decades, it's still a good win because the Cornhuskers clearly needed that game. Minnesota wanted it. You're talking about bowl positioning here and getting to a better bowl. Minnesota now bowl eligible. I would classify that as a good win. I know that Ethan Kaliakmanis, AK, came in and did some good things. I'm still not drinking the Gopher Kool-Aid, though. Win the Big Ten West and then wake me, okay? And I don't think that's happening.
No, well,
they're not going to win the division.
They're not going to win the division.
So are they going to beat Northwestern this week at home? More than likely, yes. Although the Wildcats competed with Ohio State on a very breezy day in Evanston Saturday.
100-mile-an-hour winds,
Then
yes.
you have tornado-like Iowa and Wisconsin. If you run the table, well, you get to 9 wins.
You're 9-3.
Yeah.
I think that's a good season, even though they didn't win the Big Ten West. We'll take 9-3.
That means winning the Axe and Floyd.
And the Pig in the same year. That would be.
Doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't. All right, what does happen often is Takes of the Day every week. Coming up next. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10K Takes, another episode on television, ready to wrap up. But before we go away, we'll have Takes of the Day here in a couple minutes. And also, we'll look back at the 118th World Series. Oh, by the way, with the Philadelphia Phillies losing on Saturday in 6 games to Houston.
Oh, you're taking my tidbit here.
Earlier in the day,
Yes.
Philadelphia Union lose that MLS Cup with penalty kicks, right, against LAFC.
Become the first city in the history of sports, North American sports anyway, to lose 2 championships on the same day.
So those salty fans in Philadelphia are even saltier. Yeah, isn't that incredible? Of course, the odds of 2 championship events being on the same day are extremely rare.
Yeah,
But,
they are. Well, they still have a football team that's got a pretty good chance of making a run. I don't know if they're going to win it all. It's a long ways to go, but the Eagles are still unbeaten last time I checked.
8-0. Yeah, they're perfect.
You know what? Those people in Philly probably, as you like to say, they go to bed mad and get up madder, or go to bed angry and get up angrier.
Yep.
Well, they're probably just ticked off to beat all right now.
There's no doubt that they probably are down on the entire Philly roster, and they're all
They want to
totally,
get rid of Bryce Harper.
Exactly, and goodbye to anybody connected with the Philadelphia Union. I see where I believe it was Nick Castellanos' wife and members of his family went Rip City on the Philadelphia fan base, and I thought to myself,
Oh, boy.
don't poke a bear with a stick, because those people
They'll throw the sticks back at you.
They will throw the sticks at you, and they'll pull the tree out of the ground and throw the stump at you. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to forget that.
No. All right. Let's do takes now. And speaking of fans and not forgetting, it seems like the Houston Astros fans have not forgotten who their shortstop was a year ago, because they have a guy that won the ALCS MVP and also the World Series MVP. Yes, Jeremy Pena wins it all, and they're letting him have it in Houston. There's a perfect example. This graphic behind me, one Twitter follower put up there and said, this is a shot of, you could see Carlos Correa there right next to Jeremy Pena. And Pena saying, yep, I just won the World Series MVP. I also won the ALCS MVP. Back to you in the studio, Carlos. In other words, Carlos, you're not playing for a championship. You didn't win a championship. Well, he did when they were banging the trash cans. You are sitting in the studio right now, and your $35 million a year contract. Not a bad deal, not exactly lottery money, but he did win a championship back in 2017, and he does have a big contract. He's probably getting another big contract. I don't know if he's going to get it from the Twins. Looks like he'll be going elsewhere.
He's going to get paid. He got paid by Minnesota.
Yeah.
By the way, it's not Marty McFly. These are Houston Astro colors.
Oh,
I'm all about winning, baby.
Yeah.
So your mood is demanding diva.
Demanding diva.
Throwing shade at Carlos Correa. Carco.
Still Marty McFly.
He's on the market. Well, I guess baseball's over now. The market will open up here soon. All right, my take of the day. On Friday night, downtown Minneapolis, late tip-off. It was after 9 o'clock Central on ESPN when the Milwaukee Bucks took on the Minnesota Timberwolves. I was in the arena. Only regular season appearance for Milwaukee. A lot of Bucks fans crossed the St. Croix River and staged a coup d'etat in downtown Minneapolis. They were chanting, of course, as Wisconsin fans do. And Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, comes up with the triple-double. Boy, did he deliver. He's the best player on planet Earth, in my opinion. Fun to watch. And the Bucks crushed the Timberwolves. But beyond that, just seeing Giannis was cool. NBA, let's put the Bucks and the Timberwolves in the same division. Maybe get the Bulls in there and the Pacers. Perhaps your Cavaliers and the Pistons as well from Detroit. Get some regional stuff going on, because Minnesota and Milwaukee, I wish they played more than twice a year.
Yeah.
That'd be great, especially for those Bucks fans who don't want to go over to Milwaukee and they just want to come to the Twin Cities.
I'm not sure the Timberwolves need to play the Bucks twice a year.
Probably not.
That'd be bad.
All right, on that note, we got to go. Let's FedEx out those thank yous. One to the great crew here at Channel 6. Also to Rocky and Richard Coffey. For Wally, I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.